I am about to ask what project she has and what the apocalyptic consequences, but she walks back into the art classroom. Since you have nothing to do, would you give me a hand? The paint can doesn't fit into my bag. I need it. How do you put on your bag? The fuck? She kicks she kicks lightly at a huge can of paint lying on the floor next to the table she was sitting and sleeping on. It's at a dull clang. Being the gentleman that I am, I naturally pick it up. Heavy. Yeah, sure. Where do you need me to take it? Away. And with that, she takes off to the hallway, and the paint can following, since there is little choice for either of us. The hallway's quiet and empty now with Shizune and Misha gone, so we too leave towards the stairwell on the other end. Every 10 or 15 or 20 steps I have to change the can from one hand to the other because the thin handle cuts into my palm. At least it keeps my arms from tiring too fast. Rin strolls beside me with an uneven pace that I have trouble matching. Maybe I'm just walking weird because I have extra weight. Seems one of us is constantly walking too slow or too fast, and I can't figure out which. 2 flights of stairs below, trouble appears into the form of a head nurse and his fox-like grin. Ah, Mr. Nakai, what a happy coincidence. Tezuka too, of course. He nods courteously at Rin, who does not acknowledge him back, then turns to me because obviously it's me who has some business with. There is something I forgot to mention on Monday. I nod and wait impassively, because I can't even begin to guess what he forgot. The feeling of the handle delving deeper into my skin doesn't make me feel enthusiastic about this interruption either. It's about your medications. Since you haven't been that long on your current medications, wow, why am I so bad at this? It's about your medications. Since you haven't been that long on your current medications, there might be some unexpected side effects, which might require adjusting dosages or even changing to another kind of medication. So we will do a few tests regularly. But why am I so bad at reading him? Holy shit. Hold on, let me wake up here. So we will do a few tests regularly, but what I'd want is for you to keep an eye on everything and your condition feels off, if you get what I mean. Nausea, headache, anything. Come see me if anything happens. Alright? So, how are you? Everything fine. I give up and drop the can to the floor before answering him. Apparently this takes longer than my biceps can handle. I'm about to say something as generic as an answer, but I realize how often I'd been doing that lately. Other people have asked me that too. Teachers and students here, my parents, visitors, nurses, doctors at the hospital. Everyone seems to be concerned about that. It's natural for a hospital, not so much for a school. Except this school. This is a small school, and both the student base and faculty seem to be very tightly knit. At least that's the feeling I'm getting. This is not the kind of school that gets transfer students too often. The thought sends shivers up my spine, but I give a generic answer anyway. That's great. Also, another thing. My sources tell me that you've been neither at the school track nor even the pool, so I'd like you to know that you've taken up exercising as I asked. Of course I haven't, but this way of inquiring gives me the feeling that I should have been running my ass off at the track ever since the first day. You have people spying on me? Not as such, I just happen to know a few people. But that's not the issue here, so don't try to slip out of it. Well, I was actually doing some improvised weightlifting as exercise. I pick up the can and lift it up and down a few times like a sad imitation of a bodybuilder, even though it's weighing down on my arms painfully. A stupid grin disappears from his face for a second, then comes back like it was never gone. Tezuka, would you give us a second? He's gonna beat the shit out of me. The nurse grabs me by the shoulder without waiting for Rin's permission, as he didn't need it in the first place, and drags me aside. When I told you to exercise, I wasn't joking. I understand that you're still in your first week and all, but please don't ignore the importance of this. The reason I'm coming down this hard is that habits are not easily to form. The more you slip and postpone, the harder it'll be. It's the same with everything, like dieting. Can you promise me to be more serious about this from now on? Maybe. Yeah, I'll be more serious. I promise, definitely. Because if I say maybe, that's like fucked up. It's like, maybe I'll be more serious. Like, bitch. Sorry. He studies me for a moment, then shrugs, smiling again. Okay, that's more like it. If you go to the school track tomorrow morning, you'll meet my spy, who probably has no qualms offering consultation if you want to jog a bit. Consultation. See you around. He leaves with a wave of his hand and no answer. I walk to Rin, who has been waiting idly, leaning against the hallway wall, staring at the pale lighting fixtures in the ceiling. Even when I approach, she doesn't move her eyes off them. Are you getting off? What? Are you getting medications for your heart thingy? Were you listening? It comes out more accusatory than I intended, accidentally lashing out on her. But even so, I don't really want to start talking about it. I just met her. I don't know her. It's none of her business. The nurse seems to be happily ignorant about confidentiality, too, talking about that kind of thing in public. But it's not Rin's fault, is it? I look up at her, suddenly feeling a bit guilty, but Rin is just staring past my shoulder, quizzically, her head tilted like a bird's. Sigh. I don't really know why it's so hard for me. It feels like there's some inexplicable lock that prevents me from being more upfront about this. Yeah, they're for my heart. Will they make you feel better? No, not really. They're just to make me feel a little worse. Rin keeps looking at me for a while longer. She neither says anything further nor displays any kind of emotion I could discern. Thankful that she doesn't. I'm still not quite used to all this. At the hospital it was easy, but I still haven't sorted my feelings out about having to live a normal life with this disability. We leave the main building and Rin leads us onwards towards the dorm. We stop at the small patch of greenery in front of the dorm building. The dorm is built on slightly different elevated ground with a wall with a few trees that everyone seems to circle around every time they come or go. It's probably the only inconvenient design of the school. The entire wall made up of some kind of bricks, as the building itself has been covered with some sort of painting. Most of it is still mere sketches, quick lines drawn with a black and white against the gray plastering that covers almost the entire length of the wall, but some places look a bit more finished. There are human faces and legs and hands. I can't quite say what the painting as a whole might portray. Stacks of what seem to be the paint cans can be arranged in piles on the ground, besides the wall. See? The left side is hardly off the ground yet. It's because I couldn't get the mood yesterday, so I gave up and went to meditate instead. Then it was suddenly morning. I have to work on it, but the guys from the art class are helping with the negative spaces between surfaces whenever, which is a problem. It's easier to paint big areas if there are a lot of people with hands. The reach is better. Oops. And it's faster too. She goes on a tangent of a tangent, waving a little with her arm, with little of her arm, or whatever fit there actually is to demonstrate, even though I already got the point. The white cotton of her sleeve flaps around, and it makes me think it could look sadder than it does. But it makes me feel out of place, like almost every tangible reminder of the student base's special properties has been the few days. This girl doesn't notice my dreary feelings, of course, or the fact that she almost lost me a while ago already. She just keeps on blabbering. So that's why I'm trying to figure out if there is something I need to do, and I figure out that before it's too late and all hope is lost. Why would all hope be lost? Because paint has to be painted, and then it has to dry, and then it has to be painted over with another kind of paint. It takes time. She stops, apparently thinking that she's made some kind of statement that makes sense. I think it's best to start from the top. So, this is your project? You did this? Yes? Yes? All of it? Yes. Nice, but I stumble with my words, suddenly feeling as if I've walked straight into a minefield of political incorrectness. It's okay. You can say it. I probably won't get mad. I blush really hard. I don't really know what would be the right thing to say, if any. Feels like I'm more sensitive than Rin is, though. It's really awkward. Don't you want to ask? How do you paint without hands? See, I'm an easy person to talk to, right? With my feet. I almost guessed that already, but isn't that hard to do? You're good at guessing. Anyway, I don't think it is, but maybe I'm used to it by now. I can't get my mind around the fact that she could be an artist, but seeing how adept she was using her feet to eat, I could figure painting would not be a problem for her either. Neither of us has really more to add to the subject. The afternoon light works pretty well. While I was afraid I would look too flat, but it's not like that after all. I think it's actually pretty interesting. I wanted to see what it would look like in a dim light. Do you think it's flat? Well, paintings tend to be flat. Not like that flat, flat. Like people are. No substance. No meat where there should be some. I know a few girls who... Okay, I get it. But I couldn't really tell. I'm not that good with art. I can't name many artists or artistic terms. So I don't really have anything to say. Rin shrugs her shoulders, saying that suit yourself without saying it. Looks up at the sky as if trying to look for something up there. I didn't really think I'd get any actual work done, but if you give me a hand with the paints, I could do a little before it's too dark. I wanted to get a halogen lamp, just like the ones I have at sports tracks, but there aren't any. Rin sure is quick to recruit my help, as was Shizune. Really makes me feel that the festival is such a big project that every pair of hands is needed. Why not? I'm not really sure if I could be of any help, though. It's just mixing some paints. You can do that, probably. Do you have motor control problems? Like, those people who have some? Cerebral palsy, maybe? Not that I know of. I get it. Heart thingy has nothing to do with that. She gives me a sly look for no reason. No, it doesn't. Let's do it then. She sits on an empty wooden box that very naturally picks up a wide brush between the toes of her bare right foot. I open a few cans to pour some of the contents into shallow bowls of mixing. The thick paints flow lazily into the can of the bowl like syrup. I mix them, creating funny, hypnotic-looking swirl patterns that melts quickly into each other to form a new, monotone hue. Rin sets to work every now and then, asking me for a hand with something or the other. Finding different brushes is easy enough, but mixing the paints to the exact tone this girl is apparently seeing in her head is a frustrating ordeal. She wants precision down to the last milliliter before she is satisfied, but her introductions are obscure at best. Add half a splash of green. I crouch down and pick up the can of bright green. The other green. This green. I carefully pour some of the other green onto the paint of the mixing bowl. No, that's almost a whole splash. More white. Is green a good color to add? No idea. You're the artist here. A smile appears in the corners of her mouth. Do you lack opinion? No, it's just I have no idea. It's okay, because I just got an idea. Add more white. With this explanation, I pour a minuscule amount of white into the bowl and mix it. It looks slightly whiter. That's not good. It has to be like the color when you wake up and you know that you saw the meaning of life in your dream, but can't remember it. Maybe it's yellow. I love that quote. Yellow is the meaning of life. Despite the impossibility of mixing a color that changes of seasons and any other nonsense that's being imposed on me, I find myself enjoying it more than I thought I would. Seeing a paint being born on the plastered wall feels like magic. I spend the moments I have mixing paints crouching on the paving and just looking at her work. It feels slightly intrusive at first, like breaking some imaginary intimacy, but Rin doesn't seem to mind the least bit. Maybe it's just in my head. Her presence emits a completely different air, as if she patiently works on the details, adding layers of paint onto the tops of layers of paint, steadily moving her foot across the wall to add new shapes. When I manage to produce a passable mixture of paint, the rare smile on her face is oddly rewarding. Apart from the few words of discussing paint mixes, neither of us has a word to say for the longest time. Even those short discussions soon evolve into shorthand, both of us developing and using weird impromptu code words for various paints and hues, as if there was some need to conserve words and breath and sound. That's really cool. I don't remember that. I feel like that's the only time we actually have like a shift in like daytime to nighttime type thing. What time is it? I still have a little bit more time. We stay there probably just until the nighttime. That's what I've been doing. We stay there late into the evening until it becomes too dark to paint properly. Is it just nighttime now? Did I just say that right before nighttime? Okay, my bad. Well, thanks for watching. Catch you in the next session soon.